Hey family, I'm back with another review of an EA review system. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Gleim EA Prep course. Now, with this, if you were a subscriber to the channel, you know that a few months ago I talked with Mrs. Courtney Sefjack, who works with Gleim and helps with universities to help their students have access to the EA exam review, right? So if you didn't watch that interview, you can watch the interview that we did. I'll link it. There'll be a card somewhere around here. But after that time, I actually was given access to Gleim so I could check out the system myself. Now, this review will be a little bit different because one, when I studied for the EA exam, I personally did not use Gleim. So I didn't have a baseline to compare it to 2017, 2018 to 2024, right? And then I reached out to Gleim and they were willing to give me access to review the system. But when people do that typically and they know that there's going to be a review, they usually let you have the best with all the bells and whistles, right? So, with that being said, I actually waited months, about 7, maybe even 8 months before I logged in as myself because I knew people who were using Gleim to study at this time. So, what I did with that, I knew all of them did not have the same level of Gleim access. So, I wanted to see what it looked like from their point of view without all of the bells and whistles that I had been offered so that I could give a more I would say neutral review, right? So if you have no idea why I'm here, who I am, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Timalyn Bowens, and I'm America's favorite EA. As an enrolled agent, I'm licensed through the Internal Revenue Service to represent clients in all 50 states. As a matter of fact, I represent clients all over the world who may have a US tax problem. But on Tuesdays, on this very YouTube channel, and even on my blog at americasfavoritea.com, I share tips for how to become an EA, how to start your own EA firm, how to handle representation cases, because that's something that I did not have when I was a new EA. So that brings us to this video with the Gleim EA Prep course. When I was looking for material to study, there weren't a lot of different reviews of EA courses. That's why I wanted to share what I found about Gleim with you. Now, I do have notes here so that I stay on track, okay? So, when you're looking for study material, some of them are called EA review systems, some of them are called an EA course. So this specifically is the Gleim EA prep course. Now, if you have an accounting background, you may be familiar with Gleim because they do also have a CPA prep course. They do also have the CMA as well. So this is going to be strictly about the EA prep course. And I'm one of those people that I want to know, why is a person creating this? Like, yes, it could be lucrative because there aren't a lot of EA review systems, right? But one of the things that I found was really cool was learning about Dr. Gleim, the founder of Gleim, who has all these different review systems. So when I talked to Courtney Sefjack, she told me, he's a humanitarian. He wants to help others, wants to help them obtain certifications to push their career. But the really cool thing is she's an employee. So, one, that's really cool that she said that of him. But at the same time, it was like, okay, she may have a vested interest there. But across the board, I didn't hear anybody say anything negative about Dr. Gleim. So, I found that pretty fascinating. Whether people like the system or not, that wasn't the thing. Those who met Dr. Gleim all said pretty much the same thing about him with wanting to help others. So I said, let's dig into the system to see how it's different, to see how he does that. One of the quotes that Courtney gave me was, the EA prep course is the last one in the certification suite, and Dr. Gleim saw the need to help tax professionals without the hurdles. So, one of the things that I like that was really cool in here and definitely sets Gleim apart is you have a personal counselor. Let me take this off because I don't like when you can't see my eyeballs, right? With the personal counselor, it helps aspiring EAs get started. So, if you or like, that Timalyn girl is pretty cool. I want to do what she does, but you have no idea what the prerequisites are to become an EA. You don't know how you should start studying after you start fulfilling those prerequisites. Your personal counselor can help you with that. And I know this isn't something they made up because when I did actually log in to my Gleim account, one of the first emails that I got was from my personal counselor to try to figure out where I was at in my journey to becoming an EA to see what I needed to get done to make sure that I was ready to sit for the exam. So if you check it out, when you go to the actual website, it gives you more information. So again, it even helps aspiring EAs know where to get started with what's a P10, why you need to have one. Then there are how-to guides, or I'm sorry, there are guides that will tell you where to study and gauge like what your weaknesses are and your strengths. So that's pretty cool for a person who has an accounting or a tax background, right? Because something that I would like to remind people, they're like, oh, well, if somebody worked for the IRS, they can come right in and they can become an EA, take the exam, it's no issue. That's actually incorrect because we're looking at tax law versus the IRM, which a revenue agent is going to be looking at the IRM. So that's the Internal Revenue Manual and like how to apply the law. It's not even representation work that's going to be on the exam. So what this does with this guide to help gauge you and where your strengths and weaknesses are at, I've shared my story before where I worked in a public accounting firm. So I had experience with S Corps, with partnerships, with FI, all of those things. So something like this would have been good for me because it would have directed me more to part one of the exam with the individuals. I wasn't horrible with the individual stuff, but that definitely was my weakness. So going in, as I'm listening to people, I'm like, oh my goodness, everybody's saying that section 2 of the exam is hard. It deals with partnerships and S corps. That was actually the easiest part of the exam for me, but I didn't have a personal counselor or guide to help tell me where I was weak. I went off of the word of everyone that I knew online that had already taken the exam, which don't get me wrong, these people are very good tax professionals, but they didn't have the same foundation in the tax industry that I had. So this gauge would have been very helpful in pointing me out personally to know where to study. And I believe that whether you have a good accounting background or not, this personal counselor and the Gleim gauge is a very, very powerful tool to help you know where to study. It's also an adaptive guide, right? So it's tracking your progress and it's going to adapt itself. So if you're showing as weak in individuals, using myself as an example, if I'm showing weak in individuals at this one point, later on as I'm taking exams and practice quizzes and things, it's going to adapt to show me, okay, you're better here now, but you're kind of slipping in section 2. And I'm just using myself as an example because that sounds like something I would have done. But that's something I really, really liked. Then, as far as the packaging, so with another review system that I talked about, I won't call it by name here because this isn't about them. There were different level subscriptions. So with Gleim, they have 3 different levels, so 3 different price points because of the packages. Now, personally, I'm a person that if I'm studying, I like to actually touch the book. Yes, I know everybody's not like that. Some of you guys are really good with the ebook. I can read an ebook for pleasure, and that's fine. But if I'm studying and need to retain, I need a physical book. That's why I still have physical notebooks, right? So Gleim offers where you can get the book and software for $4.99. Now, with that, you're not getting any updates, right? So we know the testing window starts in May and is going to go all the way to February. So once you're done with that book, you're done. So you need to pass all three parts within that window. If we go up a level, we have traditional. And let me go back. So at the time of this recording, that's going to be $4.99. So $499 for the book and software for the current testing period. If we go up to the traditional, and I do believe in this one, let me go back. Within the system, I do believe that you have the option to get a physical book, but most are going to the digital option of the book, which for me, I'd be in trouble because I would personally need to have that physical book, right? Then we have the traditional level. And in the traditional level, that's going to be $6.99. You are going to have access for 12 months. Now, the cool thing about the 12 months, let's say that you start studying for the exam in October, right? But the testing period is going to end at the end of February. Well, shoot, if you had the traditional, then you're pretty much SOL, right? However, or I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing. If you had the first level book and software, you'd be SOL. But with the traditional, because it goes over 12 months, you have the most up to date information for that 12 months. Okay. Now, the one that gets the most bang for your buck, it accounts for any kind of life happening that may disrupt your study schedule, is the premium level. Now, the premium level is going to be $7.99, it's $799. You're going to have unlimited access. So here's the cool thing with this, and I do have this in notes. With the premium, you have instructor videos, you have unlimited access to that. Now, part of that unlimited access is also going to mean that you have access to this until you complete the exam. So you always have the updated material. That's $7.99 up front, though. You are also going to have the personal counselor. You're going to have full access to the videos, the content, and experts. Now, within Gleim's research, they show that people have the most success with that level, the premium level. And I don't think that it is like a sales ploy, right? It makes more sense that if you have access to instructors, on demand videos, a personal counselor, and all of this information, that you would have more success. Also, let's take into account the success rate of somebody who may purchase something again in October and then they don't have access anymore after February, or it's not relevant after February. If they have a death in the family, if they lose a job, something like that, life just happens. They may not be quote unquote as successful. Okay. So at either of these levels, I believe the premium $7.99 is still going to be a pretty decent investment, but I think it will be worthwhile. Now, one of the things that people were asking me, and they ask me about each of the review systems via DM or email, they say, okay, who, well, after what did you use? They say, well, what about this one? Who is this good for? For Gleim, I got the feel like it feels like class, like you're in school, like if you were to take a class online. So, with that being said, for people that need structure, that need, you need to study at this time, here's the lesson plan, and not too much like study freedom, I think Gleim is perfect for that. So, one of the cool things about this as well is that different, I would say, groups, associations, like they can license or get the license to Gleim material to teach it. So, for example, and I'm not saying this is what I'm doing, let's say that me, under the America's Favorite EA umbrella, I want to teach an EA review course, right? For sections 1, 2, and 3. I could have access to the Gleim material, purchase that license so that I could teach it, whether that's online or in person, which I think is really, really cool. But again, goes back to what I said before. Gleim is very structured, and that's for lack of a better word, not to say that others aren't structured. Um, because there are some other good review systems out there, but this is very like you have a syllabus, everything is outlined. If you need that kind of structure in your life and you cannot, you know that's a weak spot. You cannot like look at material and break it up yourself and say, okay, I need to say this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Gleim is perfect for you because it has stuff broken down in a structure that you can walk right into. Now, for some people, I know that price point up front is kind of steep. So let's say that it takes you 10 months, right, to pass using the premium. That's only, and I know only is relative, but that's only going to be $80 a month. $80 a month to be able to advance your career, to put you in a position so you're one of 3 credentialed tax professionals that can represent taxpayers all over the world with a US problem, to put you in a position to start your own EA firm. I think that's a pretty low investment if you ask me. All right. So overall, I like this. Right? One of the other features that I really liked is that you can take practice exams in the online format. All right. And what they do with these practice exams is going to mimic Prometric. So if this is one of your first videos looking at an EA review course and you don't know what Prometric is the testing center where you would take the EA exam. All right. So it's really cool that what Gleim does is for the practice, they mimic Prometric. So you're already getting accustomed to what it's like to sit down and take the EA exam. Now, one of the other things that is really different about Gleim, if you do get the physical version of the book, and I thought this was cool, right? And I had to keep trying to find somebody that had the physical version of the book because the physical version, we're all moving to digital. What they have in the book is they put questions, the answers to the questions in the back of the book. All right. So I don't know how old you guys are, but I'll just say for me, coming up in like elementary school, maybe even middle school, like when you had to practice quizzes and exams in your book, when you're doing math homework, and then you could flip to the back and see the answer. That's how Gleim is. So even if you don't have the online access, if you're being for real about this and you're wanting to study on your own and maybe you can only do the book and software, with that book, you still have the opportunity to do practice questions and check your answer in the back of the book. That's a very powerful tool when you can have the answer, because even if you didn't get the answer right, knowing the answer allows you to go back and go in reverse order and figure out why you got the question wrong and then figure out how to get it right. That's a powerful tool because when you're actually sitting down to take the exam, you should be able to work it out to make sure that your answer is correct. This little hack that Gleim has, where they have the answers in the back of the book, allow you to do that. Because let's be for real, if you're doing these practice exams and things online, it's easy to be like, okay, yeah, I see, like these were the options. This was the question, what have you. This is the answer I got. It's wrong. You can do all that up here. But once you are actually taking the exam in Prometric, you have a pencil and paper where you can write stuff out. If you are actually doing a practice question, like in the physical with a book and paper, you're going to write it out. So again, it's a real life scenario that you're being offered there because you have the answer in the back of the book for you to check it. Okay. Maybe I'm just a nerd. Maybe I'm a pen, paper, book nerd. I don't know. But I really like that. That's small, but something that I really, really, really liked about Gleim. Now, going through my notes, I believe that I've covered everything. The different formats I've covered, there's a book, instructor videos, and a digital book as well. If there's anything else that you would like to know about the Gleim EA Review Prep course, let me know down in the comments. Or if you've taken Gleim and you're like, oh, Timalyn, here's something you missed that's really awesome, let me know that down in the comments as well. All right. And I hope to see you in the next video. Don't forget to like this one and subscribe.